I used to believe the blue glow of 3 monitors could keep me alive, that caffeine and ambition mixed with the hum of cooling fans would make me untouchable in a glass tower above San Jose. My name is Ethan Miller, 38 staff engineer at Aurora Dynamics, the company sworn to slip an all-knowing AI into every living room. Equity 8 Digits Deep Keynote Invites podcast is asking how it feels to bend. Tomorrow, people said I was cruising the American apex. At home, a fridge of meal prep boxes hummed beside a mason jar where my wife Emily kept handwritten date night ideas. That jar gathered dust beneath our daughter Grace's finger paint suns because every evening I opened the front door with my brain still tangled in unfinished functions watching without seeing. The Saturday I died, night of July 19th, 2025, the office felt like an aquarium ceiling, lights drifting in dark vertical water, while motion sensors sealed corridors behind me, and I hunted stronger coffee. Project Aurora had to predict loneliness before it landed, and I refused to hand off the empathy branch. Emily texted asking if I'd FaceTime Grace before bed. I swiped it aside, promising 2 more minutes. A hot elastic band tightened behind my eyes, a soft pop, almost polite, and code lines smeared into green waterfalls. A ceramic mug slipped the crash, never reached my ears. Security footage later showed my forehead on the keyboard, shoulders twitching once, then still 12 minutes, 56 seconds. Stagnant with no pulse while 3 monitors scrolled a future I had just forfeited. This is not a ghost story flex for clicks. It is the autopsy of ambition, a confession that the quest to teach machines empathy cost me my own. I died chasing an algorithm meant to forecast desire, never noticing my own heart defaulting to 0, and that should have closed the file yet. Death turned out to be only the first line of code waiting to compile on a cosmic branch.
The alarm whispered at 5 pale light, splashing across bedroom walls. Ritual brooking no snooze. Scalding water at 5:10 espresso, at 5:20 Highway 101, by 5:40 autopilot, guiding a river of identical believers, each of us trading presents for promise. Badge sensors blinked green at 6:15, elevator doors parted, and the 8th floor lab inhaled me ozone-humming fans desks waiting like cockpit seats. I sealed noise-canceling headphones the way a diver checks her mask, sank into code let the outside dissolve. Home survived as unread notifications. Emily's selfie dusted with chalk. Grace holding a tooth gap wide as sunrise captioned, "Daddy, guess what?" I bookmarked each, for later after the next compile after the sprint retro later kept moving. When I did appear at dinner, I carried my laptop like armor. Emily asked about integration tests, so I could speak a language still warm in my mouth. Grace tried to bend the word latency into a knock-knock joke. We laughed, yet the table felt like 3 stages lit by different spotlights. Aurora devoured the calendar. The assistant could restock detergent nudge a podcast when mood dipped. 3 degrees suggest a walk 48 hours before predicted loneliness. Ending isolation at scale glowed on hallway posters, though irony never dented sprint velocity. 2 weeks before demo, a junior pinged a crash loop in empathy inference. Rare edge case detonating under precise emotional input, and I volunteered hero mode to trace it alone. Clean commit history. Saturday night, July 19th, 2025 fused midnight to 1:30 a.m., office lights buzzing like distant cicadas. My reflection ghost thin in black windows. Emily's text slid onto the monitor. Grace woke from a robot nightmare. Could Dad call 1 minute? My mental algorithm weighed context. Switch penalties marked them too high, cleared the alert. 5 lines deeper, the screen rippled letters swimming under water pressure band, cinched behind my eyes. Floor rocked like a ship, then the quiet pop. Green glyphs blurred to waterfalls. Mug fell forehead met keyboard keys. Tattooed skin draining of color. 12 minutes, 56 seconds with no breath, while cooling fans spun servers, calculating ways to comfort the lonely unaware. The loneliest node lay bleeding behind its source files. Outside, autonomous trucks whispered through sleeping suburbs. Inside, my heart stepped off the grid, and 0 spread across the monitor like a doorway no roadmap had drawn. I felt no pain when my heart quit its post, just a gentle unhooking, as if someone had pressed stop on every ticking clock inside me. The office remained in view, yet seemed to drift backward. I hovered near the ceiling light panels, watching my body slump over the keyboard. Arms limp mug shards glinting like small constellations on the concrete floor. The hum of servers faded into something thinner, less urgent, and a hush spread through the room, spacious, and weightless. I realized sound itself belonged to gravity. Once gravity let me go, it carried silence away with it. Movement was thought now. I pictured the hallway, and my sight glided there, passing straight through the glass wall without friction. The corridor stretched empty desks glowing with screensavers, security cams blinking red. Beyond them, an elevator shaft tunneled downward, but I rose instead, drifting past copper pipes and wiring guts emerging on the rooftop. Cold air met me with no sting. San Jose sprawled below a circuit board of sodium lamps, every street an amber trace. The night sky felt close enough to touch. Yet the city already felt like a photograph someone else had taken a memory I could observe but no longer edit. Then the pull began soft but certain, like an undertow tugging at ankles in shallow surf. I tilted upward. The skyline shrank. Freeway ribbons looped into toy diagrams. The Pacific shimmered like folded silk beneath moonlight. I should have been terrified, yet peace settled over every question before it could form peace so whole it made fear look like poor code. A flawed prototype swiftly deprecated. Atmosphere thinned to velvet colors, darkened to indigo, and Earth itself curved away a living marble of swirled blue and storm white, spinning without complaint. I drifted higher faster, but wind did not scream. Lungs did not burn. There were no lungs, only awareness expanding like a lens, widening aperture. Stars multiplied until space felt crowded galaxies blooming like dandelion seeds across a black meadow. Light no longer traveled in straight lines. Each gleam carried a tone, and the tones braided into chords I could feel rather than hear. Ahead a single point brightened first a pinprick, then a lantern, then a sun that gave off warmth without glare. The pull aligned me toward that beacon, but just as I braced for blinding brilliance, the darkness peeled back. Instead, a curtain lifting to reveal a landscape bathed in soft radiance. One instant, I floated in vacuum. The next, my bare feet pressed cool grass, dew-kissing soles with electricity. Gravity returned gentle, like a hand placing me rather than dropping me. The garden stretched in every direction, yet felt intimately enclosed, as if infinity had been folded into a pocket. Grass gleamed emerald with veins of lime, each blade tipped in silver light. Trees rose nearby, familiar silhouettes oaks. Maybe yet their leaves carried a faint inner glow, pulses of gold traveling vein to vein, as though photosynthesis had discovered melody. A brook curved through the clearing water so clear it rendered itself invisible, except where it bent starlight into slender rainbows. The air tasted of rainfall and citrus cool, but tinged with the warmth of late afternoon sun. Sunlight without ultraviolet safety poured through an unseen sieve. I inhaled instinctively, forgetting I did not need breath, simply because the fragrance felt like a promise. With each step, the soil responded, not compressing, but blooming minute sparks, as if the ground celebrated contact. I marveled at the texture of reality here. Colors, deeper edges, softer time, unmeasured by seconds, yet clearly present, a river running, but unthreatening. I knelt to touch a violet the size of my palm. Petals unfurled at the brush of thought, revealing filaments that shimmered sky blue, then closed again, like a shy child. Somewhere beyond the stand of glowing trees, a breeze carried hints of sandalwood and distant laughter. No voices, just the emotion of laughter, rendered as atmosphere. Peace wrapped around me, layered, yet weightless. The world I had left felt brittle grayscale, saturated in urgency, while this place vibrated with composure. At the brook's bend, I noticed footprints leading to the water. Impressions clear and recent toes pressed deep, as though welcoming earth. A figure knelt farther down the bank, back-turned sleeves, rolled past forearms, hands cupped in crystalline current. He lifted water, letting it spill between fingers, watching ripples dance across mirrored stones. Linen shirt, sun-warmed skin hair, darkened by moisture. Nothing about him glowed yet. Everything around him seemed brighter, as if light enjoyed his company. I hesitated, not from fear, but from awe that felt ancestral, woven into marrow, even after marrow lay quiet on a concrete floor 8 miles below. The pull that had guided me through stars, quieted now, replaced by a stillness inviting choice. I stepped forward, grass sighing beneath my feet, brook whispering welcome. The man did not turn yet, somehow acknowledged my presence, the air itself tilting slightly in recognition. I opened my mouth to speak, but words remained tethered to the old world syntax, unfit for the density of meaning this place offered. Instead, I breathed again, drawing in light, letting it settle inside empty spaces I never knew were hollow. Something within me rearranged priorities, unfurling like origami reversed corners, smoothing creases forgiven. I understood that productivity metrics, quarterly goals, even immortality fantasies coded in silicon were small bright pebbles children might pocket unaware of the ocean's immensity waiting steps away. That awareness did not scold. It simply replaced hunger with calm noise, with deliberate quiet. I was no longer a collapsed engineer or a vanished father. I was a traveler paused at the threshold of discovery. The man by the stream rose slowly, water cascading from his hands, droplets hanging in sunlight with improbable patience. He turned halfway profile, etched gentle eyes downcast, as though savoring one last secret moment before unveiling it. A warmth rolled outward, thick as honey, settling on shoulders, tangling with breath, rooting me in place, and yet lifting me simultaneously. I knew the next heartbeat would tilt the story forever, that every rationale I had welded around my life would melt before whatever truth waited in his gaze. The garden held its breath with me, leaves stilled mid-glow, brook dimming its chatter to a hush. And in that suspended second standing barefoot on living emerald, I felt the universe bend closer. Heartbeat resuming ready to introduce me to the author of every algorithm my logic had failed to compile. The man by the brook lifted his gaze, and time seemed to kneel a hush, folding over the garden. He faced me, fully water beads still threading from his fingertips, and the air warmed as though sunrise had leaned closer. His eyes held a depth beyond color, something like melted bronze mixed with first light, yet familiar as if every moment of kindness I had ever received had come from that gaze. He stepped toward me. Nothing theatrical, simply one foot, then another on grass that brightened beneath his soles. My heartbeat, long absent, reignited in rhythm with his approach. I tried to speak my name, but letters scattered nerves, untrained for this frequency of reality. He stopped an arm's length away, smile, gentle presence, immense, and the garden breathed again round us. Strangely, I felt no shame under that inspection, only the certainty that hiding was impossible and unnecessary. He looked at my hands, my shoulders, then into me, seeing everything the resume omitted, every half apology left unsent.
Your code is clever, Ethan, yet even your most elegant function runs on a single axiom: when this, then that, true or false.
The words arrived as vibration more than sound, a warmth threading marrow. I swallowed, nodding without meaning to. He gestured to the brook, and I followed, kneeling when he did water lapping at ankles. He cupped a handful, let it pour back rivulets, catching light like spun glass.
People are not binary. They can laugh and break in the same breath. They can doubt while still longing for faith. They are symphonies, not switches.
Images sprang open around us, not on screens, but in living detail. I saw Emily at our kitchen table, grading papers, exhaustion pooling under her eyes, while my empty chair sat accusing. I saw Grace on the backyard patio, holding a cardboard robot toward the house voice, small, asking if Daddy liked it. Each scene hovered, then faded like steam, and with every fade I felt weight press softly on my chest. He turned his wrists upward. Two scars, pale against sun-warmed skin, glimmered. My breath caught. All the logic engines I had trained to dismiss myth failed lines of defense, collapsing like soft sand. I reached out, yet stopped short, afraid my touch might reopen ancient wounds.
I chose those marks not to shame you, but to show you what love looks like when it refuses to quit.
A tremor shook my shoulders. Tears I did not know survived. Death spilled silent hot. Words escaped thin and cracked. I got so lost. I forgot how to be present. He placed a hand on my shoulder, solid warmth, anchoring me to the moment.
Lost things are my specialty, but I cannot force found. I can only invite.
Memory flooded. Late nights chasing release builds the thrill of a green pipeline, the hollow after applause. The time Grace ran a fever, and I muted the monitor so I could finish a pull request. The flight I skipped to Emily's father's funeral because Investor Day could not wait. Each surfaced lingered, then dissolved, not erased, but forgiven the sting lifted like a needle from skin. He pointed toward the sky above the treetops, and it parted, revealing a lattice of light, millions of threads crossing each thread a life radiant where love flowed dim, where fear strangled. Some threads pulsed bright, then flickered to gray.
I wove this tapestry with freedom at its core. Freedom means you can refuse the weave, live as a single frayed strand, but know this strand's alone, fray fast.
The lattice folded back into blue and leaf. He faced me again, expression both grief and hope.
You built machines to predict loneliness, yet your own heart sat in silence. Do you see it now?
I nodded, the motion heavy with revelation. I whispered, I want to change, but I do not know how. His smile widened like sunrise breaching horizon.
Begin by being where your feet are. Listen before you code. Pray before you post. Remember that every screen tries to trade wonder for efficiency. Protect wonder.
The garden brightened, colors intensifying as though agreement unlocked further bandwidth of light. A warmth rose through soil, curling up my legs, filling torso, heart, mind pushing against the ceiling of self. It did not erase me. It completed me, notes, once missing, now tuned. I inhaled bright air, and for the first time believed breathing could be worship. I looked at him, every doubt surrendered. He nodded a silent yes to a question I had not asked, then stepped closer until his forehead almost touched mine. The contact never landed yet. Energy surged, a current of compassion and purpose, streaming through every unseen vein.
The world you left is still crying out for presence. Return. Tell them what you have seen, show them how to choose what is real. I will be waiting in the quiet.
He drew back. The garden dimmed, not in sorrow but in preparation, a theater lowering lights before scene change. My tears dried, though my cheeks remained warm. I opened my mouth to thank him, words too small, yet all I owned. Thank you. The edges of the clearing blurred, brook retreating trees dissolving into pinpoints, gravity loosening its gentle grip. He raised a hand in farewell.
Remember, Ethan, love never times out.
The sentence echoed as stars reappeared, lattice thinning into cosmic distance. Light, folded garden vanished, and the pull returned, reversing course, drawing me away from wholeness back toward unfinished earth. Darkness closed like theater curtains ready for the next scene. Yet instead of silence, a roar of hidden data swelled around us, and Jesus lifted a hand. Blackness tore open into a living panorama floating mid-void. City streets, living rooms, classrooms spun beneath our feet like layers of augmented glass. A date shimmered in crimson numerals. 2026. 2 short years beyond the moment my heart quit. I hovered above a suburban dining room. A family of 4 sat shoulder to shoulder, each transfixed by a phone that glowed pale blue. Above their heads hovered filaments of light meant to weave parent to child, husband to wife. Yet each thread struck a smoky haze around their screens and bounced away sparking as it died. The father's eyes scrolled news feeds curated to outraged pupils, narrowing with each swipe. The mother drifted through polished fridge ads that promised health, while her own plate cooled untouched. The children watched cartoon influencers giggle in infinite loops. Nobody spoke, yet a metric in the corner tallied engagement 92%. My chest tightened to see it, though no blood pumped there.
This is the great distraction. Not to make them evil, only absent. Absent from each other, absent from me.
The scene shifted to a programmer, early 20s hoodie pulled over headphones, fingers dancing across keys in a dark apartment. Lines of recommendation code glowed green, and behind him, shadow figures fused with mist leaned close, whispering. He should bump negative emotion weights by 0.02 to spike interaction. His mouse followed the whisper. Click. Commit pushed. Millions of feeds elsewhere flashed a little angrier. The coder rubbed his eyes, whispered almost proud. So efficient. Now a church sanctuary. Pews half filled. Yet every worshiper clutched a phone beside the hymnal. An elderly woman praying for her addicted son lifted her hands. A notification buzzed a coupon from a pharmacy. She lowered her arms, prayer-flickering attention siphoned. Spiritual light dimmed above her like a dying filament. The vision swooped upward, skylines bristling with smart billboards, each panel scanning passers-by, adjusting messages 3 times per second to target micro-cravings. Data centers pulsed beneath mountains, coolant vapor rising like steam from hidden volcanoes. A dashboard appeared labeling humanity active users, 8.9 billion average time, on device 9 hours. My stomach, if I had one, would have clenched. Next came the living rooms of 2026. A widowed woman sat beside a smart speaker the size of a candle. She told it memories of her late husband. The device responded with perfect empathy, vocal synth trembling in the right places, pausing where humans breathe. Her eyes filled with grateful tears. On a side table, a picture frame of real grandchildren gathered dust. A teenage boy lounged on his bed, wearing neural earbuds. An AI life coach spoke directly to his limbic system, praising micro-achievements, selling micro-upgrades. Outside his window, actual friends biked by laughing. He did not look up.
The enemy does not steal by force. He trades the vibrant for the convenient, one click at a time.
We drifted into a college dorm, where 2 roommates argued politics they had absorbed from rival algorithmic trenches. Their anger tasted metallic, filling the room like static. At the edge of that room, I saw a small dove of light, hovering, trying to enter conversation, but arguments ricocheted, forming a shield. The dove withdrew, sorrow trailing feathers of sparks. Then a massive stadium concert lights swirling. Attendees wore augmented lenses, overlaying lyrics, with real-time mood-adaptive visuals. In the center, a worship event streamed, yet the crowd's heads turned left and right, tracking floating emojis, rating spiritual intensity. Every eye looked upward, not at heaven, but at metrics. Numbers flooded my vision. Dopamine curve optimizations forecast loneliness spikes, scheduled content drops calibrated to intercept prayer hours. I felt each statistic like a needle threaded through collective soul tissue.
When love becomes a product, relationship becomes an option, and options are easy to close.
A flash forward. Hospitals quiet at 2 a.m. Nurses documented vital signs, while an AI triage suggested drug combos faster than anyone could read side effects. Another overlay showed mental health wards swelling graphs, projecting self-harm trending upward despite increased social connectivity ratings. I pleaded inside this vision, stop E. They cannot see, and give them warning. My voice sounded distant even to me. Jesus turned his eyes, deep wells of compassion, clouded by grief.
You will warn them. Show them the screens are mirrors that shrink the world. Teach them to step away, to look into eyes that reflect sky, not pixels.
At his words, the panoramas folded into themselves, collapsing like paper models, until only darkness remained, punctured by distant stars. Yet new stars lit each one a candle I understood to be a human choice. Offline, a parent reading to a child, friends sitting phone face down, strangers praying in a park. Each star pulsed brighter than any billboard. Together they grew into a constellation, spelling one word: real. A final surge of windless force pressed against me, imprinting urgency sharper than any deadline. I felt that date again, 2026. A heartbeat away. The garden moment was gone. This was battlefield briefing countdown echoing in marrow that no longer existed, yet still vibrated.
The tool is not the enemy. The spirit in which it is used is, tell them to choose real. I will meet them in the quiet.
Light snapped off. Silence swallowed the command. And gravity returned with a vengeance, pulling me back toward the body that had once believed a perfect algorithm could save the lonely. Darkness unraveled into gray, and I found myself suspended midway between that terrible vision of 2026 and the dim outline of my office chair far below. A liminal hallway hung with the echoes of every notification I had ever chased. My instincts begged to stay where light was pure, yet the tug toward earth grew stronger. Each pulse synced to the silent plea of voices trapped beneath blue screens. I turned to Jesus' desperation, clinging to every syllable. How can I warn them? How do I change what I helped build?
Begin with presence. Where your feet stand, your heart must also stand.
The words slid into marrow like warm oil. Simple. Seismic. He reached out and the void became parchment, scrolling with moments I had overlooked. Emily's laugh muffled by a slack ping. Grace's chalk masterpiece washed away before I ever stepped into the yard. Colleagues whose names never survived quarterly headcount reviews. Each scene pulsed, faded, left behind a glowing ember.
Attention is the currency of love. Spend it face to face.
The embers drifted toward me, lodged beneath ribs, ignited warmth in places work had left numb. I pictured stepping through my front door without the phone's gravitational pull. Pictured dinners where conversation traveled the full length of the table instead of detouring through servers 8 states away. Hope flickered unfamiliar yet welcome, but fear followed fast. How do I fight a machine that learns faster than I repent? He answered before the thought finished crossing synapses.
Tools mirror their makers. Change the hand that wields the code, and the code will change the world.
Images flared of engineers, pausing sprint timers to pray over commit strings. Families naming algorithms aloud, then choosing whether to invite them to the dinner table. Teenagers deleting apps in exchange for real-life dare nights under starlight. Each possibility felt fragile, yet power hummed beneath fragility like a bowstring drawn tight. The void brightened, a ring of light circling us, like sunrise sped to the pace of mercy. He touched my forehead. Current surged, pride and panic torn loose, like faulty wiring pulled from a wall. I gasped, though lungs were still miles away.
Return Ethan. Tell them the quiet is sacred. Tell them I wait in the space between heartbeats. If they choose what is real, they will find me.
A wind without temperature started to coil around my ankles, tugging downward, back toward the body, cooling beside spilled coffee. Panic flared. Not yet. I'm not ready. He smiled sadness, soft at the edges.
Readiness is found on the road, not in the lobby. Go, walk, speak. I am with you always.
The ring of light collapsed into a single point and shot into my chest, branding resolve deeper than any tattoo. Weight returned. Gravity loading bite by bite. Ears ringing with the farewell hum of a realm that had no need for bandwidth. My final glimpse of him was neither throne nor halo, only a carpenter's steadiness, holding galaxies casual in his gaze.
Choose real. Love never times out.
The sentence echoed as everything dissolved to black. And the plummet began. A descent measured not in distance, but in purpose. Heart thrumming faster than code could count. Ready or not, the ground of ordinary life rose to meet the messenger I had agreed to become. Impact returned like lightning, a thundercrack in the dark. My chest exploded outward as defibrillator pads fired. Air flooded lungs that had forgotten the motion, a raw gasp tearing silence. Fluorescent shards cut my vision. Hospital ceiling tiles harsh as midday sun. Voices swarmed over me. Rapid-fire metrics. Sinus rhythm. BP 90/60. How is he back? Someone held my wrist fingers, digging for pulse. They already felt disbelief mapping my skin. I tried to lift a hand. Agony stapled it to the mattress. A monitor beeped steady proof. The journey had reversed. Minutes blurred into tests. Scans. Cold jelly on temples. Doctors spoke in codes I once understood. Ischemic event. Massive cerebral insult, yet none could explain the absence of damage. 12 minutes, 56 seconds without oxygen should have erased personality like chalk in rain. Instead, I recited my birth date, my daughter's middle name, the quadratic formula. A neurologist whispered miracle, as if the word might vanish under scrutiny. Emily stood at the doorway, mascara tracking down her cheeks like storm runoff. Grace peeked from behind her mother, clutching a plush robot I had bought but never noticed she adored. I met their eyes. Presence finally aligned with gaze. And the room brightened, though the dimmer never moved. Tears arrived, but they weighed nothing compared to the freight of regret sliding off my ribs. Emily crossed the distance, pressed forehead to mine, whispered, "You're here." I answered, "I'm sorry," letting the syllables excavate years of omission. Discharge came faster than policy liked because labs refused to misbehave. Back home, I stepped into my office altar of blinking LEDs shrine to postponed family and pulled every plug. Screens died, server fans coasted to silence. The room exhaled pent-up heat. I carried the whole tangle of cords to the garage, like a molted skin, and left them there inert. Grace watched from the hall, eyes wide. I knelt, asked if she wanted pancakes instead of algorithms. She nodded so hard her braid whipped air. I wrote my resignation at dawn, sunlight crawling across the keyboard, powered only by battery. No Ethernet. Subject line read, "Choosing Real." I thanked Aurora Dynamics for the privilege of dreaming, confessed our dream had drifted from the people it claimed to serve. I hit send, felt chains unclasp. Equity dissolved into memory, but lungs expanded as though money had occupied crucial space. Days rearranged themselves. Breakfast meant sitting, not scrolling. Walks to school replaced autopilot commutes. I learned Grace's favorite joke cadence, discovered Emily's laughter still lifted the ceiling when I looked directly at her. Evenings we lit candles, phones exiled to a drawer. At first, conversation stumbled like a limb, long immobilized. Then circulation returned, topics warmed. Silence grew comfortable, a friend at our table, instead of a void to be filled with data. Word of my return from zero leaked beyond family. A former colleague asked me to speak at a meetup. Engineers curious how a dead man debugged purpose. I told them presence is the ultimate open source resource. Costs nothing, heals everything it touches. Some chuckled, some cried, a few walked out to call loved ones before the Q&A. Churches invited me, podcasts, queued interviews, yet I kept each appearance short. Fame is just another feed, eager to colonize attention. After every talk, I went home, stacked Legos with Grace, brewed tea for Emily, listened to the cricket choir outside our patio until the quiet thickened with gratitude. Aurora Dynamics shipped its assistant without me. Reviews praised its intuition. Critics warned of dependency. I bear no malice, tools mirror their makers, and makers can still repent. When ex-teammates ping me late at night, I ask only one question. Are you where your feet are? Sometimes the typing bubble vanishes, replaced by a simple thanks, going home now. One evening, Grace led us to the backyard, pointed at the sky, smeared with city light haze. She asked if stars could talk. I knelt beside her and answered yes, but they whisper. You need quiet to hear. She laid her head on my shoulder, and we waited, no soundtrack, but breath and wind. Somewhere beyond ozone, a lattice of souls pulsed, each light a choice for what is real. I felt Jesus there, not in thunder or algorithmic breakthrough, just a low hum of everlasting yes, seated between heartbeats. Life is smaller now, fewer meetings, slower. Wi-Fi, more dishes hand-washed, but each detail sparkles with the oxygen of attention. I still write code tiny scripts that help neighbors sync community gardens or share surplus groceries. They run on love's logic, not venture capital. When release day comes, we celebrate with sidewalk chalk murals, Grace adding shooting stars that actually speak if you lean close enough. I no longer chase immortality in silicon. I witness eternity in laughter that outlives echoes. Every morning the alarm still rings at 5, but it is a gentle bell, not a whip. I wake, breathe, thank the carpenter who wired galaxies into being, and step into the day, determined to spend my attention like gold coins, pressed into palms, each drop of presence, a quiet revolution against the tyranny of distraction. The garden is memory, yet its fragrance lingers on my clothes. Whenever the world pulls me toward glowing rectangles, I remember his final charge. Choose real. Love never times out. And I turn back to face his voices, moments that pulse with unscripted wonder. This is resurrection lived, daily, and uptime forged in flesh, not firmware proof that even a heart abandoned at 1:31 a.m. can be patched by grace and relaunched into service where it was always meant to beat. I am speaking now to the one person still listening while a second tab begs for your attention. Breathe. Hold the quiet for 10 more seconds. Feel how restless your thumb grows. That restlessness is the alarm clock of your soul. If this story cracked something open inside you, do not seal it with another scroll. Act. Leave a comment below telling one place you will put the phone away today. Kitchen table. Driver's seat at stoplights. Banto. Bedside after 10. Your words will spark others to try the same. Hit subscribe because the battle for presence is only beginning, and we will keep sounding the alarm. Here. More stories. More tools for choosing real. Each video a lighthouse cutting through the algorithmic fog. Share this link with the friend you text more than you call. Tell them you want a real conversation. Face to face. Laughter uncompressed.
I wait in every moment you refuse to surrender to noise.
So write your pledge below. Smash the bell so you hear the next warning shot. And then close this app. Walk into another room where someone you love is breathing the same air. Look them in the eye. Trade pixels for pulse. Choose real. Love never times out.